Hi there, in today's video I'm going to talk about how to read rhythmic information in music. I'm just going to go over the basics of what each note means and how it feels in context. And this video is sort of aimed at beginners or people who are still kind of new to it or people who want to refresh their memory. If you're new here, hi, my name is Ferguson. I'm a percussionist based in Edinburgh. And as a percussionist, I'm so used to seeing all of this information in front of me in traditional notation, grid notation, whatever. I'm used to reading notation and sight reading it, as well as seeing a lot of gaps in it. I've left chapters and time codes down below, so if you want, just skip around the video and just find the part that's most useful for you. Otherwise, let's just get right into it. Why am I teaching this? It's a really good question, because I'm not the most well versed in sheet music. However, being able to do basic notation and understand basic rhythmic information was a game changer for me when I first learned it. It even just means that I'm able to transcribe my own ideas that are here, just document them on paper, or write down ideas that I hear in a song or see in a video. Like, oh yeah, that's really cool. What's going on there? And I try to figure it out. So it's a really useful skill to have, whether you're just a percussionist in a samba drumming group or a piano player, a saxophone player, try to sight read sheet music. That almost went horribly wrong. So yeah, hopefully you find this useful. Bit of context. I'm going to be framing all of this information in the world of 4/4 time signature, just because that's the most common one in Western styles and other styles as well. And even though I live in the UK and learned the subdivision names in the UK version, I'm actually just going to use the American terminology. Well done, America, you made one that's actually much easier to understand, especially for beginners. Different speeds of rhythms are categorized into subdivisions. And these are just subdivisions of time, because we're dividing how often something happens in a time period that's been predefined. In school, I was kind of just taught just to learn it, but wasn't really taught how to learn it. Since leaving school, I've seen different ways of interpreting that data. However, I'm going to show you guys a top-down sort of bird's eye view perspective. Some people call it the rhythm tree. I've seen it kind of visualized as like a pyramid.
The more money we're all going to make. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's not even a scheme per se. I have to go make a call.
So let's take a look at this pyramid and work down the subdivisions. So that very first one at the top, that looks a bit like a weird sideways zero. This is a whole note. As I mentioned, in the context of 4/4, this whole note just lasts for a full bar, a full count of 4. So when the note is lasting a full bar or a full measure, that just means that you hold the note for that entire duration. So if I were just to, sing a random note, 1, then you could just come off just before the next one. Here are some actual examples rather than me doing this, because this is just not a good way to learn it. The rest, as you might be able to guess, is just the equivalent where you don't make any noise. Simple as that. Basically, half notes are half of a whole note. Makes sense, right? So instead of playing for 4 beats, we play half of that. So we're playing 2 beats. So these notes are 2 beats long, or the rests are also 2 beats long. So in the context of 4/4, that sounds like this. Notice the visual differences between the half note and the whole note. As you can see, it's a hollow dot, but now we're introducing stems. Swiftly moving down, we have quarter notes. As you may be able to guess, how many quarter notes can we fit into a whole note? Well, quarter of a whole note, blah, 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 do the maths. There's 4 of these in a bar in 4/4. You're already really familiar with this because anytime we count to 4, anytime we play to a metronome, every time we do anything like that, we're playing quarter notes. almost called them crotchets there because it's just been ingrained. So basically we're just dividing the bar up into 4 equally sized chunks. So the example for this one is just the metronome. As you can see, the visual differences between the quarter note and the half note, the dot has just been filled in. So now it's a fully black dot and a stem. Here's an example with some rests also. Moving on to eighth notes, I'm sure you can see a pattern developing here. But this is where things start to get a little bit more complicated, because now in eighth notes there are more beats in every single bar. With eighth notes we're playing the quarter note and then another note in between. So we're splitting each quarter note into 2. The way that we count this is counting the number of the beat in the bar, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, counting the quarter notes, and then also counting and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then each second quaver is often referred to as the offbeat. Visually these are almost identical to quarter notes, except for now the stems are attached to one another. Here's an example of eighth notes with different configurations all kind of mixed together. The final actual subdivision that we're going to go over in this video is now sixteenths. This is my absolute favorite one and the one that I use a lot, just because when you look at grid notation for percussion, this is what we use. We split everything up into sixteenths or semiquavers, depending on which part of the Atlantic you're on. I'd say that this is probably the type of subdivision that's worth knowing the most intimately. I learned how to sight read grid notation before I learned how to sight read traditional notation, so I worked backwards from the kind of traditional route. So understanding 16s really helped me just like, oh, okay, there's just less of these notes now. For every whole note, there are 16 of these. The way that we count these is the number of the downbeat. So it might be 1, 2, 3, 4 in this context. Then E and A. So we still have the and in there. So 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E. And a really good tip that I learned about how to break down rhythms that are written in grid notation or lots of 16ths is break it down using your thumb and 4 fingers. So ba da 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 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3. Another really good tip is that there are only so many patterns of these 16th notes. So you could just learn what each configuration sounds like, whether it's 1 and 1 and 1 E 1 E 1 E and 1 E E E so on and so forth. Here's some example of different 16th note sort of patterns, all with a metronome. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope that you've got something you can take away from this and this helps you learn more about reading music. If you want more videos on this sort of topic, then let me know. Or if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments as well. I'll happily answer any questions that come my way. Hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, bye.